So to summarize a bit from the first video, and you know what, if this goes into 3 clips, so be it. You know, a book deserves a certain amount of attention. Um, it's a story about a girl who investigates the murder of her family, who was slaughtered when she was a little kid. She testified against her brother. Now she's an adult. She's struggling in life, and she's coming to realize maybe her confession was coerced, and she wants to get to the bottom of what happened. And it helps that someone's paying her to do it. This club of fanatics who love murder mysteries. That's what it's about. It's a dark, very dark book that won't appeal to some people because they're just not into that kind of material. It's a kind of material that can get you down. It's kind of stuff people don't like to think about. It's a powerfully written dark book with really ugly descriptions and ugly characters, but it works. Once again, I'll say this again, summarizing, it works because of good writing. And it works because of a story that's good. It's a story that you think, like, especially near the end, I'm like, oh man, this is too much of a coincidence for all these things to be coming together. But it's not a coincidence. She makes it work, and I'm like sitting there like, it really takes off near the end. I'm like, I'm unsure where it would go. Then I knew where it would go, but then I was wrong. Then I thought it relied too much on coincidence, but actually maybe not because I missed that, and then maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong, and I needed to read it again. It's one of the few books ever. Like usually it's movies that I say this where like, oh, you might need to watch it again. Like you might need to watch Sixth Sense again, just to catch all the little things. You might need to read this book again to catch some of the little hints that were in there. Especially one. No, I'm not going to say anything. There's one little hint, someone's name that gets mentioned over and over, and you're like, at the end, you're like, oh, maybe that's what she was thinking about. It's a well-written book. If you accept the material that's in it, it's a well-written book, and it has a story that is better than you're going to think it is at first glance. It is a good story. And I said that it has a lot of ugly characters. There's actually no likable characters in here except for maybe the main character and her brother, who she put in the prison for life. And even them, for most of the book, they're pretty unlikable. But near the end, I started to really root for Libby Day. I wanted her to succeed. I felt for her. I connected with her, and I wanted her to win. There's like a part where I wanted to just like throw down the book and cheer for her, like, yeah, get that fucking bitch. And I wanted her and her brother to find some small piece of happiness before the end. And besides the good writing, what makes this dark, 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 dark material work is the fact that there is a glimmer of hope. There is a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. There really is. And that makes the ending kind of beautiful. So I wasn't sure, like 50 pages before I was finished, I wasn't sure if I would wholeheartedly recommend it to people, or I'd say you just have to check it out because you have to see how good this Gillian Flynn can write. But by the end, I'm wholeheartedly recommending this. This is 4 stars out of 5. You've got my opinions on it, and I bookmarked or dog-eared or whatever you want to call it, where you like flip the corner of the page over a bunch of quotes in this book that I really liked that will actually illustrate my point a little bit. So go into them here and there, and if it stretches in the third video, so be it. But I'll try to get this done real quick here. Just keeping in mind everything I've said about it. So yeah, here's a good example of both Gillian Flynn's very solid, astute, concise writing and the direction of the material. So she's talking about how this guy Lyle is offering her money to go investigate her family's murder, and she says, I'd take whatever Lyle gave me because otherwise I was looking at a real job real soon, and I wasn't up for that. I'm not someone who could be depended on 5 days a week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't even get out of bed 5 days in a row. I often don't remember to eat 5 days in a row. Reporting to a workplace where I would need to stay for 8 hours, 8 big hours outside my home, was unfeasible. Just a well written little diatribe from our main character that, somewhat exposes her not only as like a broken person, but a somewhat unlikable person. But what a well written little observation on her character that she can't get out of bed 5 days a week. So, how is she supposed to keep a job? What about she's talking here in another quote from the book about a boyfriend that, or some guy that she screwed, that she couldn't ever imagine seeing again because he had all these self help books everywhere. Herbal remedies, positive thinking, forgiveness of self, living with mistakes. And she's like, look, after they had sex, she's looking around the apartment at all his books like that, all his self help books. She looks down on, and she's like, to me, all that urgent hopefulness was more frightening than if I'd found a pile of skulls with hair still attached. Now, not only is this like an interesting revelation about her character and just interesting commentary on people that are into self help books, but look at the way it's described. To me, all that urgent hopefulness was more frightening than if I'd found a pile of skulls with hairs still attached. And that's what I'm talking about, where for some people, like, there's descriptions like that on every page that are just going to be, the metaphor or just the description or whatever is just going to be too freaking dark for some people. And here's another one I just bookmarked just because I like the thought. Not much of a commentary I have to say on this, but I had that overwhelming feeling I get when I'm about to give up on a plan. That big rush of air when I realize that my stroke of genius has flaws and I don't have the brains or energy to fix them. I suppose more than anything, I think why I bookmarked that page is because I identified with that feeling, and it was a well crafted expression of that feeling. It's just stuff like that all over in her writing. It's always simply said. It's just like, it's scarier than a pile of skull with hair on it. She never has to go for fancy, flowery language, and I think that's what a lot of writers gotta learn is you're going for something that's gonna put a picture in someone's head, and you're going for something people are gonna believe. Talk like a person. Use real language. Describe things how you might describe them to a friend, because that's the point. Gillian Flynn gets that. She's a very good writer. As you can tell, it's just some of the stuff is too dark, but very good book. I've heard that her debut novel, which, obviously came out before this, it was called Sharp Objects. I heard that's just a great book. I think, a lot of people like it more than this one. I can't wait to check it out. If what anything Gillian Flynn does, if it's as good as this book, I think it's worth checking out. I think she's a writer worth following. I'm definitely gonna be following her. I actually have Stephen King's 1,000-page opus Under the Dome up to read next, but I might actually seek out Sharp Objects first because it's like 250 pages. A quick read, and from what I heard, better than her follow up Dark Places. And if it's better than this, I'm interested. I don't know if it's another murder mystery or what it is, but I'm sure it's some dark thriller stuff. And I think she might have a fan for life. And I think if you checked her out, you will be a fan for life. I think you'll really appreciate what this author is bringing to the table. So thanks for watching, guys. Once again, check out Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. Check out something by Gillian Flynn. I heard Sharp Objects is better, but 4 stars for Dark Places.